Great job, Jay. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Pardon me? Good. All right. We're getting off to the right start. Before we start, please give Eric and Simon a big round of applause for the workshop. I've got it easy. They set the table for me. All I've got to do is put the food on the plate. So thank you, guys. My presentation tonight focuses around three key elements of presentation. The first being, and Eric touched on it, consider the audience. Consider your audience. The second is owning the content completely and thoroughly, and the third is being convinced. All right? Those are the three things that I'll cover in detail with you tonight. So let's start at the top. Considering your audience. And why? Why is that so important? What is it about that key thought that has so much end result, so much impact on your presentation? Why it has so much impact is if you don't understand why the audience would care about what you're saying, your proposition, your offer, your story, your anecdote, that lesson, you're likely to lose half the audience, if not more. Every good public speaker considers their audience at every step in their presentation. Most unsuccessful ones don't. So let's share a little story with you to sort of make that point of why considering the audience takes an average topic and makes it really tractable and engaging for, for the audience. A few years ago, I got interested in the idea of happiness. You know, what is it? You know, how do we get more of it? How do we, how does it quantify it? And what adds to it? And I thought, a lot of people that I know, and myself on occasion, having done a project of some description, I thought that was really rewarding, and looking back on it, it actually really did contribute to my sense of well-being, my sense of personal happiness. So that was the project. The project was, does a project make you feel better and happy? So I needed a project. So as it was November, I just moved in my condo, I had no Christmas tree. I thought, perfect, I'll make a project related to the Christmas tree. So of course, being a designer and art director, I spent weeks researching Christmas trees and coming up with, I thought, the ultimate concept, which was ultimately a 7-foot white Christmas tree with thousands of silver decorations on it. Now you're asking yourself that obvious question, I can read your minds, why do we care, Ted? So, as this project was really all about happiness, that's what gave it traction for the audience. What I decided to do, although I got some happiness out of getting the tree, what I realized was there's a broader concept at work here. And that if I extended this project out through the people that I cared about, the people special to me in my life, my friends and my family, would that increase my sense of happiness even more so? And ultimately, I threw a Christmas party that was all circled around to help a hopeless bachelor decorate his Christmas tree, and I got everybody indirectly involved in my little project, which made them happy. It bonded the group. We had this common experience, and I was actually happy for it too. So consider your audience. All right. Point number two, owning the content. Seems really obvious. The reason that you want to thoroughly, completely own that thinking, that precious, hard-won content is so that you can be conversational, so that you don't need to reference a PowerPoint slide, a placard, notes. The idea of public speaking is about owning that content so thoroughly and completely that you could edit it on the fly as required based on the agenda changing, based on the audience being slightly different. I'll share another brief story with you. When I was in college one winter, I decided to go camping in Mexico with my brother, with my sister, and her husband. And we went to a little place called Villa del Cuesta, which is about 150 miles north of the Guatemalan border. Beautiful little fishing village, really quiet, great fish every morning. I managed to borrow a surfboard one day, and I dragged it down the beach about a kilometer. It was like brutal. And by the time I got there was a couple other guys surfing, and I said, that's it, I'm going straight in. So I paddled out, and I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, my day went from perfect to disaster in 20 minutes. The first wave I stood up on was overhead by half. When I stood up, the bottom of that wave dropped out, and I went straight to the bottom, got sucked up in the lip of the wave, and spat out. And I was struggling in the surf for the next 20 minutes. I went through the classic 5 steps of grief. You know, denial. Oh, that's okay. No, I'll just paddle out. I'll just swim out past the break. I'll be fine. 5 waves later, I started to get a little mad. That's step number 2. What the hell is going on here? Why can't I get out? Why is that wave? Why are the waves moving back and forth so much? Another set of waves, 5 or 6 more, exploding on top of me. I got to phase 3, which is bargaining. Please, Lord, I promise I'll never be that stupid again. Just get me to shore. Another wave, and I slipped directly into phase 4, which is despair. Oh, shit. This is not good. Another set of waves, and I swear I went right to 5. And that was acceptance. Ladies and gentlemen, I said to myself, today I die. Own that content, ladies and gentlemen. Find a way of engaging with that on a level that is conversational, has a great story logic, gets the audience to the content, to your thinking, and wrap it in a nice emotional context for them. Point number 3. It's all about conviction, being convinced. There's an old expression, I'm not sure if it was Zig Ziglar or Mark Victor Hansen that said it, and they said, essentially, if you're convinced, you'll be convincing. And it's irrefutable logic, and it talks to Simon's presentation about that key phrase. What it does is it provides you with a device to physically connect that wonderful content that you spent all that time polishing and editing and considering through the lens of the audience. All of that, you're allowed to connect that physically through your performance directly to the hearts and mind of your audience. So conviction is the front end of exceptional public speaking. So we've talked about considering your audience and how valuable that is and how important it is. Give them a reason to care. Talk to their sense of self-interest. We've talked about owning the content and how valuable that is to be conversational with your presentation and not having to rely on text because you own the key thoughts. We've talked about how important being convinced is. Because if I'm convinced, you may not necessarily subscribe to a position that I'm proposing, but you're going to be very clear that I'm convinced of what I'm saying to you. And that's really, really important. Now, if I may, in closing, I just want to share another little story with you. When I was about 11, I was at the local swimming pool. My brother was an instructor there, Red Cross instructor and a lifeguard. And we were walking home one day and he said, Ted, you should sign up for some swim classes and get your Red Cross badges. I thought, that's probably a pretty good idea. I've been swimming since he took me to the island when I was a little boy, 3 years old, and convinced me to jump into 40 feet of water. And I was fine. I dog paddled and he clapped and laughed and it all started from there. So at 11 he said, you should sign up and take these classes. So I did, and I went through, because of that experience, I went through the beginning and the intermediate steps really easily. Well, when I got to the more senior levels of swimming, it got much more technical, and I had to face the real harsh truth, and that was, although I've been around water my whole life and was very comfortable with it, respected it, honored it, my swimming was really not very good, technically. If I was going to get to the level of swimming that I thought I wanted to be at and needed to be at, I needed to go back to school. So I spent 5 years from the time I was 11 to 16, literally going back to school, learning how to swim. And in those 5 years, I graduated out of the Red Cross swimming with my instructors, and I was on the only junior swim team member to be on the senior team for 2 years in a row. So it's possible. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to congratulate all of you for taking the time on this beautiful evening to come down to Liberty Village tonight and share this thinking with us. I want to congratulate you for understanding that you have to keep working on your swimming stroke. And I want to especially say thank you very much for taking that leap in faith with me tonight and jumping off that island right into the lake. Thank you very much.